Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm at Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. And I tell you what, I expect some fireworks tonight, a month early. The 5th of October, it may as well be the 5th of November. Boom! We've got some fireworks. We've got some sparks. Get your thoughts in. Gary Neville calling out Ruben Amorim, saying that what he's saying about players being impacted by pundits is nonsense. You know what? Some people may say the timing isn't great because we've just won a game against Sunderland. We are also 10th in the league. We are also not playing as well as we want to. So I don't think that the timing is an issue with here. I actually have an interesting take on how both can be right. I'll go through those quotes. You'll be giving us your opinions tonight and I'll be giving you mine. Also, Baleba hooked before 50 minutes. Again, he's having a shocking season for Brighton. When we talk about mentality, I like Baleba, but should there be a big red flag? He doesn't get his move to Man United and he's playing bloody shit for Brighton. Is that the mentality of a player? No matter how good he is that a mentality you're going to trust at Manchester United when he's literally shit for Brighton? Is that the mentality we need? I think there's a conversation to be had about that as well. Also, before we get into the comments from Neville, Rashford scored today. Rasmus scored today. I think Anthony had a good game today. It's funny how none of those things really matter when Sesko scores for United, when Lamens is doing well, and when Man United win. This is the thing we need to do more of. Like Rashford scoring today makes me think about the money from Barcelona. Rasmus scoring today makes me think about the money from Napoli. If we're winning, what they're doing doesn't matter. If they're doing well and we're doing bad, it's funny how that's when it becomes a big issue, isn't it? Right, let's talk about what Gary Neville had to say. So, look, the context to this is that he's been on Sky today, he's been asked about Manchester United, and ultimately the question's been asked about him, about the outside noise, and effectively, Ruben Amorim said a couple of days ago, right before the Sunderland game, my players are being impacted by what pundits are saying about them. My players are listening about the system and the formation. And effectively, my players are being impacted by what's being said outside. I know what I think about this. This is what Gary Neville said. He says, I've got not a lot of time for that. For a start, if pundits are getting in your head, you shouldn't be playing for Manchester United. It's as simple as that. Do people not remember Alan Hansen criticising us, saying we'd win nothing with kids? That was the greatest and most successful centre-back of all time at that moment. Did they not think we got criticised during our careers? I think that's a great way to, I can't. And I don't always agree with Gary Neville. Of course I don't. But I also am very, very fair. And I can't argue with that. Like, if you are being impacted by pundits and social media, you shouldn't be a Man United player. And people go, whoa, they didn't have to deal with that in their day. Hold on a minute. Match of the Day in 1995 and 1996 was bigger than Twitter. It was bigger than YouTube. I mean, this was the thing millions watched. You didn't have your say as a fan. It was basically Alan Hansen, Jim Eel, Des Lynam, that was it. And he sat there after our opening game and said, basically, these kids aren't good enough. You can't win anything with kids. So, that's the ultimate put down for a bunch of kids. We went and won the bloody double. So it goes to show you that criticism in those days was used as an inspiration. He says, do they not think we got criticised during our careers? I'm sorry, you're playing for Manchester United. It comes with the territory. You've got to step up. He also went on to say, I played in a dressing room that when you lost, there was accountability. Why would you blame other people when you're losing matches? That's a pretty big problem in itself. I've not got any time for it. Excuse mentality, shortcuts, blaming other people. It's the worst thing you can do in life. I tell you what, I'm liking Gary Neville a lot. I'm liking Gary Neville. I mean, these are the sort of things I say. It is a bloody big problem. Blame shifters, excuse mentality, shortcuts. It is the worst thing you can do in life. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of it at Manchester United. He says, I think they need to concentrate on doing their jobs, doing it well and winning matches. It's the only thing that's going to shut people up. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, what he's basically saying is If Ruben Amorim is publicly saying that Man United players are impacted by external noise, then they shouldn't be at Manchester United. And what Gary Neville is saying is that blame shifting, excuses, shortcuts are the worst type of people to have. And on top of that, the way to shut people up is to get results and win. I haven't got a problem with any of that. I haven't got a problem with any of that. And if anybody does, or anybody agrees with it, this is your opportunity to have your say. Where I would jump in is, I don't really think, look, I don't know what Gary Neville thinks about Ruben Amorim. Some of you are Ruben Amorim out, some of you are Ruben Amorim in. I saw an interesting thread today that Sunderland played shit and Man United could have been torn apart by a team that knew how to move the ball because there was so much space in our midfield. We won the game 2-0. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. If Bruno had scored his penalty against Fulham, we'd have another 2 points, you know? So, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But in relation to this, Gary Neville's nailed it. He's absolutely spot on, in my opinion. That's exactly the sort of stuff I want to hear from an ex-player who's been there, done it, and is a fan of the club as well. Excuses, shortcuts, get in the bin, work hard, don't use excuses about... I can't stand these people who go, one of the biggest problems these players have is social media, is fans. We're the problem because we're so critical. What a crock of shit. What a crock of shit. They're paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. They're not even Man United fans. They're professionals. They're not Man United fans. They're professionals, these players. They're professionals. They're making money that is going to be money for the rest of their lives and probably set their families up as well. They're professionals and they are impacted by external criticism. Grow up, knuckle down, do your job and stop blaming other people. I absolutely agree with that. But I don't take it as a criticism towards Ruben Amorim. You can say that Ruben Amorim was wrong to say it, but is it not honesty? What Gary Neville is saying is right, but I don't think it's anti-Amorim. I don't think the issue is between Amorim and Neville. I think they're both saying the same thing in a different way. I think Ruben Amorim's saying my players are impacted by external noise. He's not saying my players are impacted by external noise. I feel really sorry for them. Stop talking about them because they're weak and I want to protect them. He's saying my players are listening to you. They're listening to you talk about my formation. They're listening to you criticising them and it's impacting them in my opinion. Gary Neville is saying that's ridiculous that they're being impacted by that. I don't think Ruben Amorim's saying it's not. I think Ruben Amorim's just saying they are impacted by it and Gary Neville's saying it's ridiculous they're impacted by it. Maybe Ruben Amorim thinks that as well. So two things can be right. I don't think this is about Neville versus Amorim. I think this is about Neville being very blunt and delivering a harsh truth. And I think Ruben Amorim is delivering a truth as to why the team's not doing very well and why it's inconsistent, why we're a light switch team, because we have weak mentalities. And look, Ruben Amorim doesn't need to tell you this. Gary Neville doesn't need to tell you this. Erik ten Hag could have told you this. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could have told you this. Ralf Rangnick did tell you this. We've had this problem for a very long time. And, you know, it will not change until we change the players that we have. Marlowe says, Ricky often refers to him viewing games back and Shaw is always the best and De Ligt isn't as good as everyone thinks. Can you please do a show with Ricky where you compare situations involving Shaw and De Ligt? I mean, I think it'd be a big, massive waste of time, but I'm happy to do it. But, you know, De Ligt, in my opinion, has been our best player this season across the whole games. And Luke Shaw hasn't had a good game yet. So, end of conversation. He's doing Amorim's job, says Cormac. And this brings it in something else as well I want to bring in. A lot of you still want to sign Baleba. And I want to sign Baleba because he's a good player. I see people every time he gets subbed at half-time or before the 60th minute, they go, oh, this is great. The price is coming down. You know what I do? Because my interest is always Manchester United. When I see Baleba coming off after 60 minutes or coming off at half-time, you know what I think about that? I think this worries me a lot. You missed out on your dream signing and you can't get your head in the game. Boo fucking who? You know, you didn't get your dream move to Manchester United and now you can't play football properly. I mean, you're meant to be coming into our midfield and being the spark that takes us to the next level, you don't get your dream transfer and you can't put it in. Now, whether you're down in tools or you're upset, that's not the right mentality we want. I don't know what I'd prefer. He's playing shit because it's rattled him, or he's playing shit on purpose. Either way, that's not, I don't know why it is some of our fans think it's great if someone goes on strike to come to Manchester United. Anthony went on strike to come to Manchester United, and then he went on strike to go to Betis. It's not a good look, and I'm worried about it. I think Man United will go full steam ahead for Baleba because his price will be plummeting. But I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like that mentality. In a team full of, blame shifters, excuses, I'm not sure the big midfielder that we needs to be a player that is rattled because he didn't get a summer transfer move. I think it concerns me a lot. And mentality is running right the way through this show, but runs right the way through this football club. Mentality is a huge, huge, huge issue at this football club. And we need to be out there buying the best mentalities we can find. Because, we're not out of the woods. I mean, I do want to talk about what's to come. We've got plenty of time to do that over the international break, and we're going to do the Bruno show probably tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, unless something new comes out. But in the grand scheme of things, we've got some tough games coming up. We've got a tough battle ahead. And as Robert McCormack says, Baleba's not good enough to down tools. Look, I know a lot about Baleba. It's really interesting to me because Baleba a year ago and Cunha a year ago were two players I was talking about on That's Football, saying I really like these two players. Had no inclination that they'd end up at Man United, but would have loved them to come to Man United. And funnily enough, we nearly ended up with both. Now, Cunha, in my opinion, has got the right he's got the minerals. He's got the right mentality. I think Mbeumo has as well. Baleba was just talent. I liked the talent. I thought he's going to be the next Caicedo. You should not be being subbed off at half-time basically every bloody game for Brighton. It's shocking. And there's a mentality issue there. Whether you like it or not, there is a downing of the tools or there is a rattled player there. And it worries me that we're going to go full steam ahead saying this is the player we want, this is the right player, and ignore mentality again. And it could work out really well. We could sign Baleba and he could be the next Caicedo and everybody's happy. On the other hand, he could be the next Jadon Sancho and everyone will go, well, the warning signs were there, we're idiots. And we've got to be better at this. We have to be better at this. Mojo's back with one of his stickers again. It says you're amazing. So are you, Mojo. Fantastic. I love the artwork. And thank you very much for your contribution. Jason Brown says, do you think we'll go for Baleba in January? I think it's a possibility. What I thought would happen with Baleba is that he would have a good season and there'd be a real competition for him next summer from Real Madrid, PSG, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Man United. At this rate, no one's going to go anywhere near him. Visco says, does Amrim's obsession with Mount not make it even more stupid that he bought 2 number 10s? We might now have a 62 million number 10 sat on the bench, Mount's on form. Visco, Mason Mount will be injured again very, very quickly. I haven't got a problem with it. I think it becomes problematic. I mean, I was talking to a Wolves fan today and they were saying they were very surprised that we're benching Cunha because he was basically the guy last season who, makes things happen. He's a talisman, he's a leader. You would not want to drop him. Man United are already doing it for Mason Mount. Mason Mount played well yesterday. So I think that the reason we bought Cunha and Mbeumo needs to be studied when you don't buy a midfielder. The reason, buying Cunha and Mbeumo when you're benching one of them and when you haven't got a midfielder is even worse. But I do understand that Ruben Amorim probably just sees Mason Mount as the bonus ball. He doesn't actually see him as a fundamental part of his plan. It's just sort of like, when you're available, I like you, but I don't expect you to be available, Mojo's just gifted 50 memberships, by the way. What an absolute legend he is. Make sure you get a W in the chat for that. Mojo, you're a legend. 50 memberships. Wow. Well done, if you got one. I can see a few that did, like Gambo. Keel Robinson's in the chat. How you doing, Keel? He says, no to Belieber, 2 times 50 million German centre midfielders instead. You got any names for that? I mean, I do like the look of Stiller from what I've seen. Pocher says, question at United, what player blame shifts, complains and moans the most? A, the captain. I mean, I don't want this to turn into a Bruno show because we've got a whole show about it at some point in the international break. But, you know, when Ruben Amorim says that players are impacted by what's said about them by pundits, what players is it that are impacted by it? Because it doesn't matter whether you're a 19-year-old Lenny Yoro or a 31-year-old Bruno Fernandes, it shouldn't be happening either way. If you're Lenny Yoro, you shouldn't be impacted by the press and the pundits. And if you're Bruno Fernandes, you shouldn't be impacted by press and pundits either. So I wonder who he's referring to. What I do know is, if Gary Neville was the captain, or Nemanja Vidic was the captain, or Roy Keane was the captain, nobody's going to be impacted by the press or the media. If Sir Alex Ferguson's the manager, he'd use it as inspiration. So something's not right. You know, you've either not got the right leaders in the team, or you've not got the right manager that the players will respond to. I think Ruben Amorim's capable of having players around him that he can tell to shut up and calm down and not be noticed by it. I think the mix of the current squad isn't quite right in relation to leadership. And I think we are too focused on what's going on. Arkempo says there's no leaders in the team. I think his leadership team's a massive problem. I mean, do you want me to be blunt? In keeping with what Gary Neville said this afternoon, I will be blunt. The leadership team's not right. It's not right. It might be the best leadership we can have, which shows that we've got no leaders. I'm not saying that they're not the best leaders in the squad. Maybe you think there should be other people there. I mean, I certainly think De Ligt should be there. I mean, part of me thinks Amorim said De Ligt and somebody's wrote it down wrong and put Delo in there, because I don't know why De Ligt's not in there. But when I look at that leadership team, and I might miss somebody out here, I'm not sure Luke Shaw is in the leadership team, but if he is, what's he a leader in? He's been at the club for 10 years, the worst 10-year period in our Premier League history. So forget that. Harry Maguire, I think, is a good lad, and he's well respected. But what's he actually won in his career? What's he actually done in his career? Not a lot. Certainly not the level that you would want. Casemiro is a fantastic CV, but I don't think he's able to play at the level required to be a leader anymore. I think he's probably the best leader we've got on paper, but he just can't play at the level anymore. Why is Delo in the leadership team? I still see him as an up-and-coming fullback. I know he's in his mid-20s, but I still see Delo as a player that has never become the complete player. So why is he a leader? Tom Heaton's third-choice goalkeeper. And Bruno Fernandes is erratic in his leadership as he is in his performance. You know, sometimes it's brilliant, sometimes it's crap, sometimes it's petulant, sometimes it's fantastic. So I don't think that the leadership team is very good. I really don't. You know, when you look at the leadership team of someone like Liverpool, you've got Alisson. I don't know who's on the leadership team at Liverpool, but I would say you've got Alisson, you've got Andy Robertson, you've got Virgil van Dijk, you've got Mo Salah, and then you've got people like Alexi McAllister stepping up to the plate as well. So I think, you know, you look at Arsenal, you've got Gabriel, you've got Declan Rice. I think Saka is somebody who's a leader in that team as well. It's not always about age. It's about the ability to step up. You know, even Newcastle, Bruno Gomes, Joel Linton, Anthony Gordon, Dan Burn. You know, there's strong personalities. It's not always about ability. United's leadership is terrible, and I think this is why we're so inconsistent. I mean, you know as well as I do. I don't need to walk round the corner. I know there's a bad loss coming around that corner. It's not a case of if. It's a case of when. We're going to be back here having a conversation about weak leadership, poor performances, not turning up. It is going to come. It's just, hopefully it won't come till the new year. I mean, if we don't get beat before the new year, we're doing something really, really right. Does Amorim's... I've done that about Mount. Also, Gift Real IG. Thank you very much for being a member for 22 months. Mate, is Ricky all right in the head? Sure, the best player. Sack him, says Jared. No, we're never getting rid of Ricky. Legend. Absolute legend. Garfield, thanks for your super chat. You and Gordon's gifting a membership. And Luke Robson says, this is another brilliant use of the media by Amorim. Players are affected by outside noise. Is him saying, get at these players so I don't have to, says Luke Robson. Yeah, you know what? I don't know whether that's the plan, but look, I had something else I wanted to talk to tonight, and we will still get time. I did want to talk about the league table, where we are at this second international break, and we will have time for that. But I think it was really important to talk about this because I've seen so many people reacting to what Gary Neville said. And I thought, you know what? The big issue here is if you turn it into Neville against Amorim, that's a mistake. They're actually on the same team. Gary Neville's been very blunt, saying, if they're impacted by pundits, they shouldn't be Man United players, blame shifters. They're not good enough. They should be focused on winning and, shutting out noise. But Ruben Amorim's saying my players are impacted by it. He didn't say he was happy about that. He didn't say he was unhappy about that either. I think they're both saying the same thing. So don't make it about Amorim against Neville or Neville against Amorim. It's basically pointing the finger firmly at the players. And if, like me, that's something you've done for a while, I actually agree with both. Amorim, as the manager, has basically said that these players are listening to people say we need to change the formation, listening to pundits, basically admitting that this is why they're not good enough, they're weak-minded, they're, inconsistent. And Gary Neville's just confirming that in a more blunt way because he can do. The issue here is with the players. And not all of the players. I mean, I look at people like Lemens. You can't lay it at his door. He's only played one game. I look at Sesko, Mbeumo, Cunha. You can't lay it at their door. They're new players. I look at De Ligt, Yoro, Mazraoui. I think when they've been fit and played, they've been very, very good. So, you're carving a few players out straight away. And ultimately, I think if we're being completely honest, the players we're talking about here are the players that need to lead. Some people need to be led, and some people need to lead. And ultimately, this is what needs to change at Man United. I'm very hopeful that your goalkeeper should be a leader, and maybe Lemens can become a leader. De Ligt looks like a leader. Yoro, I think, can become a leader. Cunha and Mbeumo, I think, will become leaders very, very quickly. Sesko, I think, has that about him as well. So, given time, I think we can build a new leadership team. But they're going to need time. You're going to need to keep adding players like that. And we need to remove the legacy as well. Of course we do. Wayne Finnegan says, I agree with what Gary said. Win, lose or draw, we make the news. Some players expect praise 24/7. Praise is earned, not just gifted after one game, says Wayne. I just don't get it. I just don't get the mentality. I respect it, but I don't get it. We're all very, very different. I've been doing, this is not the same as playing for Manchester United. Of course it's not. But I've had evenings over the last 10 years where you're like, oh my God, I'm trending for the wrong reason. I'm getting absolute pelters, out of context, in context, deserved, not deserved. It's still major criticism. And sometimes it's the other way. Sometimes it's like, oh, did you see that clip of Goldbridge? It's hilarious. It's not over the line, brilliant, and you're going viral for the right reasons. In those moments where it's not great, do you know what I do? I take this, I switch it off, and I focus on what I can do better, because there might be something I've done that I've got to reflect. I look on what I can do better, and then I focus on the people that I know matter. And that's it. And this just doesn't come into it. I don't spend my time going, oh my God, look what he's saying about me. Look what she's said. Oh my God. That's gone. In the times where you've not performed well and you're being criticised, fairly or not, that disappears. I reflect. I speak and surround myself with people I trust and who care about me. And then I go, right, this doesn't happen again. I make sure that doesn't win. I win. And you go again, and you go again, and you go again. And that mentality clearly is not in existence at Manchester United. And I think it's in existence at other clubs. I really do. I think at other clubs they've got it. But at Manchester United, it's severely lacking. And it goes beyond the players as well. I think when you've got an ownership that when the going gets tough, you sack the manager and absolve the players of blame, you almost create a spoilt culture. And it's not just about weak mentalities, it's about a spoilt culture as well. Spoilt people blame others. Spoilt people take shortcuts. Spoilt people don't work hard. I remember being round, funnily enough, it was on a Sunday, and it's amazing what you remember. I remember being round, my parents went round to these people's house. I don't think any keys were involved or bowls. Ultimately, we went round on a Sunday and we went round for dinner. And actually, there was about 4 other couples there, so maybe keys were involved, but it was in the day. Anyway, all the kids were playing upstairs, and I'd have been about 8, and in the room, this ornament got knocked on the floor by the daughter of the parents whose house it was. Anyway, next thing I know, I'm being called downstairs in front of everybody because she's blamed it on me. And I went, I didn't do it. And, you know, my parents are looking at me going, are you sure? I went, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And it was quite awkward for the parents because the parents of the person was like, well, it's not. Well, who did do it then? And I went, her. And then that really caused shit. I was like, well, it bloody was. It wasn't me. And I thought to myself, and it always stuck with me, what a little shit. I mean, she was the same age as me. You know, we're not both 8. But I was like, what a little shit. You did it, and you can't take any accountability for it, so you're blaming it on someone else. And it always sticks with me because people... she was fucking spoiled as well. Spoiled little shit. As I say, she's not 8 now. She's probably 46 like me, but because we were both 8. But, like, that was my first real interaction with how somebody can throw you under the bus to protect themselves when you've done nothing wrong and it's all on them. Don't trust people. They'll backstab you, right? But spoilt people are not hard workers. Spoilt people are blame shifters. And Manchester United have probably created quite a lot of spoilt players. They're on ridiculous money. They never get sacked. And even though they're at fault, somebody will always come in and take the blame. So if you were here when Ollie was here, were you at fault or was Ollie at fault? I'd say the players were at fault as much as Ollie. Oh, Ollie's gone. Ralph Rangnick comes in. Who was at fault, Rangnick or the players? I think the players. Rangnick gets the sack. Ten Hag comes in. Who was at fault, Ten Hag or the players? I'd say players as much as the manager. Oh, Ten Hag gets sacked. And this is what I mean. When I say we've got players that have sacked 1, 2, sometimes 3, maybe even 4 managers, we're creating a spoiled environment where blame shifting becomes in your subconscious. Because you can play shit at Man United, a manager will get sacked, and you'll get another chance. So I think that I think it's a really important thing about, you know, changing that mentality. I think Ruben Amorim is saying it in a more subtle way. I think Gary Neville's saying what we think. Evening, my love, says Margot Robbie Goldbridge. Leave it. Class of 99 says we need to accept that Casemiro is our best midfielder. Oh, I read the chat. I read the comments. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. Is Casemiro better than Agate? You could have that argument. Is Casemiro better than Manu? You could have that argument. Is Casemiro the answer? Fuck no. Absolutely not. He's not been the answer for 18 months. If you're playing in Europe, he's not too bad because Europe's slow. But in the Premier League, he is literally playing... I mean, the tackle he got the yellow card for last night against Sunderland, he actually started that tackle against Brentford. He's that late. He's just too slow. His mind and legs aren't quick enough for the Premier League. So whether he's our best midfielder or not, class of 99, you know, I'm not even going to get into a debate about it. He's not good enough. I'll get into that debate. He ain't good enough. There's no future in it, and he ain't good enough. So whether if he's our best midfielder, that just shows you how much trouble we're in. You can make a case that he's better than Agate. You can make a case that he's better than Manu, but he ain't good enough. He ain't good enough. And I'll tell you now for free, you'll see it time and time again this season. Unless we surround him with protection, he will get exploited through a lack of pace and a lack of timing of his tackles. I mean, he's going to be suspended again very, very soon, isn't he? Because he's picking up yellow cards all over the place. Amorim can't get sacked because if he does, the Deadwood will be brilliant for 3 months under new coach and the likes of Delo will get new deals, says Visco. Connor the Plane Spotter, thank you. Welcome to the Members Club. Thoughts on the positivity around Sesko and Lemens, says Rajaf. I've been asked this question a lot today, here, and on That's Football. And I can't answer the question any more than I did in the match reaction, but I am encouraged by the amount of people that are talking about it. I mean, in many ways, I'd just give a boring answer because I've been asked it so many times. But I do like the way so many people are talking about Lemens and Sesko in a positive light. Because you know what? It's exactly the evidence I need and we need. When you perform well, people won't stop talking about you in a positive way. So all these players that moan about being, you know, I can't deal with the negativity. People won't shut up asking me what I think about Lemens and Sesko. And it's been going on for 24 hours. And I think that's great. Obviously, I said it in the match reaction. I don't want to bore everybody again, but I was very impressed with Lemens for a first. I was more impressed with the fact that he wasn't nervous. I think so many people get nervous in goal for Man United. And Sesko, look, I think it's going to be a slow build, but if he can do... It's a bit like Voltemada at Newcastle. I don't think Voltemada's set the world on fire at Newcastle, but he's got 3 goals. And as a striker, that gives you time. That allows you to grow. Absolutely. Why do you keep advocating for Agate to replace Casemiro? Agate can't pass the ball and constantly kills our attacks. Blame the owners for not buying midfielder, but Agate needs to be moved on, says Jimmy. Again, it's my opinion, Jimmy. I've not given up on Agate. I still think there's a decent player there. It may well be that Amorim's given up on him if he prefers Casemiro over him. And as I said a few minutes ago, maybe Casemiro is better than Agate, but it ain't good enough. And I do blame the board for not buying a midfielder. So I think if they'd bought a midfielder, we wouldn't be seeing Casemiro or Agate. So I don't necessarily disagree with you per se, but I haven't given up on him. Do you think that we should go for Premier League proven midfielders or should we go for Bundesliga, Brazilian League or La Liga players, says Christian, who's been a member for 3 months. I mean, Christian, it's a bit like going for a Premier League proven manager. I mean, would you go for David Moyes over somebody like Hansi Flick? I'm not saying Hansi Flick would take the job or David Moyes would, but Premier League proven, it's important in one sense, but only in one sense. Like, if you wanted a Premier League proven midfielder like Caicedo over somebody like Angelo Stiller, of course I'm going to say, go for Caicedo. He's played in the Premier League, he's proven. And he's probably better. But if you're saying to me, should we go for Idrissa Gueye or Angelo Stiller? I'm going to go, Idrissa Gueye is quite old now. And whilst he's Premier League proven and does a very good job at Everton, I'll go for Stiller. So, again, it's almost dealing in absolutes, isn't it? We should go for Premier League proven over Bundesliga or La Liga. No. We should scout properly because Rodri had never played in the Premier League. Brilliant signing in the midfield for Manchester City. Enzo Fernandes had never played in the Premier League. Brilliant signing in the midfield for Chelsea. Gravenberch never played in the Premier League. Brilliant signing for Liverpool. What have I just described there? 3 ridiculously strong mentality players who are talented. So, for me, I'll never subscribe to the view we need to go for Premier League proven. We need to go for Premier League proven. But where I do agree is that there wouldn't have been many better options out there within our budget than Cunha and Mbeumo, who both happen to be Premier League proven. So I think they're good signings. It just depends on what the, Bruno Fernandes, another one. Nobody cares. That's the name of the person, not that I don't care. Belieber was taken off because he was on a yellow, says Rainfall. Yeah, but again, I think you're being too literal, Rainfall, because you're just talking about today. And maybe he was taken off because he was on a yellow card today. Why is he on a yellow card? Why is he being taken off? Not every player on a yellow card gets taken off. But it's not just today. He's had a shite season. He's been subbed loads of times before 60 minutes. So it's not just about today, Rainfall. And this is what worries me about people sometimes. They go searching for the answer they want through that. And you need to go through that. You've got to look at the whole of the pie, Rainfall. Garfield with his popcorn, thank you very much for that. 50 memberships from Mojo, what an absolute legend. Liverpool are there to be got at, lads. Have faith, says Tom. Look, it's going to be a few days yet before we get talking about the Liverpool game and the preview. But as an early prediction, I've seen a lot of people, some Liverpool fans, some United fans, and some general football fans saying United are going to get an absolute tonking. Liverpool have lost 3 games in a row. They're going to be hurting. It's at Anfield. Man United aren't as good as people think they are. They're going to get absolutely torn apart. I disagree. I disagree. I've watched a lot of Liverpool this season. They've got no rhythm. And that I don't think will change just because it's Man United. And what I will say about Amorim is we went to Man City and won last season in a shit season. We went to Arsenal and knocked them out the FA Cup. I think that if we approach that game where it's basically a back 5 and our 2 midfielders sit in front and we counter and we score first, I think we'll definitely get something. But I can see us getting a result there. Obviously, give Liverpool the favourites tag. I've got no problem with that at all. But I've got a funny feeling that when we get written off, we tend to turn up. And when people say we're going to get turned over, we don't. So I don't think that's our next bad result. I don't. I think there is a bad result coming, but I don't think I wish we could play Forest because they're shit at the moment. But Brighton, I can see us getting something there against a home to them. I'd like to think over the next 4 games we can get 8 points. Win 2, draw 2. I'll be very happy with that. Because 8 points from 12, we won't be far off 5th place again. So I'd like to think we can do that. I certainly don't look at I think they're difficult games, but I don't think they're losable. Well, they are losable, but what I'm saying is I don't think we automatically need to go, if we get 6 points, it'll be okay. Mojo says, lately, a few goalkeepers have been kicking the ball long in many games. Does that mean that managers are gradually doing away with playing from the back, maybe because every team is trying to press from up front? I don't like long throw-ins. I know we scored from them yesterday. I don't like it. I think it's basic and, anti-football. I don't like them. I don't like long throw-ins. But it worked for us yesterday. Because basically what you're doing is what Stoke did 15 years ago and everyone took the piss out of it. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and start going, I love long throw-ins. I love it when my fullback who's on the left-hand side runs over with a towel and throws it from the right-hand side. I love the goal, but I don't like it. And lots of teams are doing it, not just us. You're basically just chucking a ball into the box and hoping that it bounces right, okay? It's not football. It's direct. It's route 1. I don't mind long kicks from the goalkeeper. I don't mind it. There's a time to play out from the back and there's a time to go long. And I think that is a clever tactic. I think too many teams always played out from the back to the detriment of it was predictable and to the detriment that it led to mistakes. If you lose the ball on the edge of your box, which we've done countless times, they can get a shot off straight away. So I like the fact, and I've not really noticed whether other teams are doing it, but I like the fact that we go long sometimes. I'd hate it if we went long all the time, but I like the fact that we go long sometimes. It relieves the pressure. If they win it, they've got a long way to get to our goal. And also, we've got a 6'4" striker who can hold it up or flick it on. So I don't mind a long ball. I think football's at its best when it's unpredictable. I think football's at its best when you can mix it up. And I've noticed it with Sesko. Chelsea got their goalkeeper sent off because of it. Long ball up from Bienda, flicked on by Sesko. And Mbeumo's very good at timing his runs. I like it. I like it. Sesko and Mbeumo are quickly becoming my favourites, says Byron. I do want us to get Cunha in the team. I think he's an absolute gem. I really do like Cunha, but we haven't seen the best of him yet. Jake M says, I said the other day Casemiro is the only midfielder we have that doesn't flap at headers. He's definitely not our best centre midfielder, but the rest are wimps. He might be Casemiro might be our best midfielder. Like, Class of 99 said, he might be our best midfielder, but he's not good enough. He might still be our best midfielder, but he's not good enough. Would Casemiro start for Chelsea? No. Would he start for Newcastle? No. Would he start for Liverpool? Get out. Arsenal, get out. Man City? No. So straight away, he wouldn't start for 5 clubs in the Premier League. Would he start? Our best midfielder wouldn't start for any of the top 5 clubs from last season. Would he start for Villa? I don't know that he'd start for Villa, to be honest with you. I think it's debatable whether he'd start for Villa. So our best midfielder probably doesn't start for the top 6. That's not good enough. Doesn't mean he's not our best midfielder. It just means that if our best midfielder won't play for the top 6 and we want to be in the top 6, we need our midfielders to be competing with the best midfielders in the league. I said, anyway, good point, Jake. In 2025, people are saying Casemiro is better than Bruno and he's playing out of position. Wild work, says Pizza. And Tariq says, Bruno needs to play in a front 3. Agate, Mainu, Casemiro in midfield and Mount, if need to be, in midfield. Can we not play with 2 strikers and 1 number 10? That won't be a huge change in Amorim's system. I think the mistake you've made there, Tariq, is that you're talking about system changes, formation changes. You're better off saying Amorim out. I said this a couple of weeks ago. If you're a fan that wants to change your formation, there's nothing wrong with that. But you may as well say Amorim out because he's not going to change his formation. So 3-4-3 is here to stay with Amorim. I'm okay with that. But we're not going to change it. We're not going to tweak it. It won't happen. Are you going to ever bring back Cooking with Goldbridge, says Harry? As soon as my kitchen's ready, I will do a Cooking with Goldbridge. United had a plumbing problem and ended up changing the faucets without actually addressing the issue. No midfield, no goals, says Akil. And what's frustrating, says Desiree, with these players is that they can get slapped or they can have the game of the season at Anfield. I don't think we can afford another pounding at Anfield. I don't think we'll get another pounding at Anfield. What I will say is I'm pretty sure that game's on a Sunday. That gives us an extra day. I don't like being away straight after the international break. And we've had it twice now. I don't like that. I don't know how the fixtures work, but I genuinely just do not like having to play away from home straight after an international break. I mean, we had Man City straight after the last one, and we've got Liverpool after this one, and then the next one we're at home to Everton. So at least we've got a home next one. But yeah, it's tough. It is tough going away straight after the international break. When United win, there's no mention of systems, says Sound Dog. Good point. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Mount, Cunha and Burmo. Who do you drop? Mount. He's playing well, but Mount. It's easy. I like the choice. I don't necessarily have a negativity towards any of them. I mean, look, I've always said this. You know, sometimes you buy a player and then people go, well, what happens to them? And I go, I don't care, because the modern game is very demanding. There's always loss of form. There's always injuries. And I want competition for places. So I actually like the Mount, Cunha and Burmo conversation, but I'd go Cunha and Burmo because the manager spent £130 million on them. He didn't buy Mount. So surely the manager's got to go with the players that he bought. Also, Mason Mount is 25, 26 and he's broke. Not financially, he earns 250 grand a week, but like his body's broke. Like I could never say Mount and Mbeumo and Cunha on the bench because I know for a fact that Mason Mount's never going to be able to sustain 90 minutes week in, week out. So I think it's Cunha and Mbeumo and Mason Mount we use as and when, in my opinion. Maybe I'm insane, but why don't we try Mazraoui in midfield? He's always good with the ball. You're not the first person to say that, Leo. He's not fit at the moment, so that's why we can't do that. Noel Malone, thank you very much for your super chat. Visco says, it's been a while since you had a glass of wine. Get in. I still got the cough. I feel loads better, but I've still got the cough. I mean, apparently it can take a few weeks to get over a cough, but I feel loads better. FC26 is back tomorrow. I can take a few deep breaths and not feel like I'm going to pass out, but yeah, it is nice to have a glass and not, you know, I haven't wanted to for a few weeks, I must be honest. So cheers. Belieber is from Africa. To join Man United is a huge opportunity, and he knows Brighton put an unrealistic price tag on him. Clubs ain't loyal to no player, says Sule. Mate, no lies written. Absolutely no lies written. But Sully, I'm entitled to my opinion. And Man United matters more to me than Belieber's dream move to Manchester United. So let's break down what you're saying. I think you're saying Belieber is from Africa and to join Man United is a dream. And Brighton said no, so he's disillusioned. Fine. Personally, I look at that and go, is that the mentality I want at Man United? Like, maybe he comes to Man United and he's an absolute legend. But he's not giving off. If I was his agent, I'd be saying, you're not giving off the right look. Like, it's disappointing, it's adversity, smile in the face of it and play well. Don't down tools, don't be rattled, because that makes you look weak. That makes you look like you might not have the minerals. That's what I'm saying. I want him to have the minerals. Also, I don't think Brighton put an unrealistic price on him at all. You can't say it's unrealistic when they got £100 million for Caicedo. Sesko and Mbermo are quickly becoming my favourites, says Byron. I think we've done that one. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Why not play Mount next to Bruno? Oh, my God, Emil. Go to bed. Manu behaviour isn't as a red devil. Crying for a loan before even season starts. Full support for Amorim. He is the man. Cheers, Mark, says Velik. Disagree. I disagree. I think I sort of agreed with you in August. In the middle of October, I disagree. Manu's actually been proven right. I think Manu wants to play and stay at Manchester United. I think when he asked the loan in the final week, I was disappointed. But he knows more than we do. He's there every day. He's there at Carrington. I think it's abundantly clear that the reason Manu wanted a loan was to play football, because he didn't believe he could win minutes from Amorim. 6 weeks later, Man United are 10th in the league. We've not played that well. The midfield is probably the biggest area with the goalkeeper. We've seen a change in the goalkeeper. We've seen no change in the midfield. Bruno plays every week, win, rain, shine, whatever. Manu, according to Amorim, is Bruno's understudy, and Bruno is Mr. Undroppable. So Manu simply wants to play football. I get how you can interpret it as, you know, he's not dedicated. For all we know, he's playing like prime Patrick Vieira in midfield, in training. But Bruno gets picked ahead of him. He's not been given the opportunity. He's not been given the starts in the Premier League. And Amorim prefers Bruno. So if I work somewhere and I'm not getting opportunities and I want to work there, but I'm not getting the opportunities because somebody else is, and I'm seeing them not perform and I'm still not getting a chance, I am going to look for another job. So you might not like that. You might not like that. But I get it. I didn't get it in August. I was like, stay and fight. But we've not had a great start to the season, and he's not been given the opportunities. So I think he's got every right to still be saying, I want to move. Look, he's got between now and Christmas. Hopefully he will get some opportunities. Mark in the chat, if you had COVID, have you noticed it takes longer to recover from regular cold and cough? It's weird, says Sid. I don't know whether it is COVID because I don't do the tests, but there's a lot of it going around, and I feel like this latest strain, is it called Trish Stratus or something like that? I think she was a wrestler. It does give you a husky voice. I've had that for 2 weeks. Apparently it does take a few weeks to get over it. But I only felt bad for a couple of days. It's just been a lingering thing. Would you loan a swap? Mark, would you a loan swap Manu for Janusaj? We'll leave that one, Stretford Ender. Do we still need an experienced goalkeeper if Lamens performs? If Saudi came in January and offered 90 million for Bruno, would you do it? Yes. Yes, Shaka, I hope you're doing well. Not heard from you in ages. Watching from Gloucester, Shaka Phillips. If you know, you know. Are you the original one? No, I'd take the 90 million for Bruno tonight, let alone January or the summer. Either will do. Do we need an experienced goalkeeper if Lamens performs? Probably not. Spurs third, Forest last. Proves Ange sucks, says Parker. I mean, yeah. Uriam says, Liverpool are wounded. We will either scrape a win or lose 5-0. Thank you, Uriam. And also, Ryle says, why aren't you being critical about Amorim's inability to win 2 games in a row? This is dreadful and he should be called out. Do you agree? I do agree, but we won yesterday. So I think, like, look, the chat's been brilliant tonight. I don't think it's very toxic. I think it's very realistic. There are people in this chat who want Amorim out. And there are people in this chat who want Amorim to do well. And I think the great thing about this is, unlike the last throws of Ollie or Jose or Ten Hag, we're not at that point yet. And I think even the Amorim outers know we're not at that point yet. So it's not particularly toxic. But you make a good point, Ryle. Like, not winning 2 games in a row is ridiculously bad. But we won yesterday. So I'm not a big believer in when you win a game, you start going, oh, it's not good, it's not good, it's not good. I think he is. Look, the scales are like this. Amorim in, Amorim out, whatever. Amorim survives, Amorim gets sacked. It's a balancing act. And because of the win yesterday, Romano said it tonight, he wasn't going to get sacked anyway if he lost to Sunderland. And he's bought himself a few more weeks. I think that's where we are. So I'd hold your thoughts, Ryle. I don't think you're wrong. But I think for now, it's, you know, we just got to see what happens next. Spin says, I think Pep ball ruined the unpredictability of the game. I miss it when wingers would take on the fullbacks, the Scholes and Nanny worldies. The Vidic last-ditch tackle. I miss Man United to Spin. I find myself watching a lot of highlights from between 94 and 99. I think there's just so many good games there that you can watch highlights of on YouTube, and just 10-minute games, and you watch the flow of the game, how the ball moves, the tackles. It was better. You can't replicate it now because players are fitter, referees are stricter, but trust me, we did used to play football, good football, every week. It can happen again, but you got to have the players for it, of course. You got to have the players for it. 10th in the league. I will talk about this a little bit more over the international break because there's a few things I want to talk about. But we're 10th in the league. It's not as bad as it could be because we were 14th last week. It's not where I want to be. I want to be, you know, at least 7th. 10th in the league is sort of not good enough, but it's not the, you know, crisis it could be. Basically, somebody said to me, what do you think about where we are in the league? What do you think about the start of the season? I think we're exactly where we should be. I think Chelsea are in a false position, wherever they are, because I think the 2 red cards cost them at least 2 or 3 points. I think Newcastle are in a slightly false position because they didn't get the striker in the first few games, and they would have had more points if they did. I think we are where we should be. I think 10th place is where we should be. Now, you can see that as a positive or you can see it as a negative. But I think 10th is where we should be, and I think 15th is where we should be last year. I don't think we're in a false position. I don't think we're too high. I don't think we're too low. The question is what we do with that. Like, the next 4 games, are we going to get better or are we going to get worse? And obviously we have to get better. 10th place is not good enough for Manchester United. I don't think this is something to celebrate as progress. I don't think it's good enough. But we're in a position where if we'd lost to Chelsea and beaten Brentford, we'd probably say this it's about right. So I feel like 10th place is the right place for us at the moment. The big question is, where are we going to be next? You know? And I want to delve into that more deeper, either tomorrow or Tuesday night. But as a headline, I think we are where we should be. It's not where I want us to be, but I think we are there at the moment. I don't think we've seen enough of the Premier League yet to know who's better than us. I mean, obviously Arsenal are better than us. Liverpool, we'll see. Man City are better than us. Crystal Palace are better than us. Bournemouth are better than us. But I think it's hard to say Everton are better than us, and they're above us. So, you know, I think there are still, you know, we're still finding out about this team. And I do hope that we can get better. I mean, there was always going to be a bit of transition. 2 points behind Liverpool next. Come on, United. I mean, I was just going to have a quick look at the table. So yeah, we're 6 points off the bottom and we're 6 points off the top. Sorry, we're not 6 points off the bottom. We're 6 points off relegation and we're 6 points off the title. That's what I mean. It's sort of like there. The United season is just that at the moment, isn't it? I mean, we're 2 points off 15th. And we're 2 points off 6th. Crystal Palace have had a very good season, but we're only 2 points behind them. So we're 3 points off 5th. I think when the season is like this, after 7 games, naturally it's still going to be very condensed. In 4 games' time, the gaps will start to show. And the question's going to be, are we going with the top lot or are we going with the bottom lot? And I think the next 4 games become very, very important. Anyway, let me just catch up on the comments here. Sorry, I've lost the live chat. Bring back the after show, says Jai. I will bring back the after show. I'm not bringing it back tonight. If you, the owner, would you keep or sack Amorim? Oh, Dylan. What a question to drop near the end. If I was the manager, would I keep or sack Amorim? My inclination would be to... I've already answered this question. It's the same as what I said before Sunderland. If I was the owner of Manchester United, I would pull Amorim into the office and I would ask him why he picks Delo all the time, why he's picking Bruno and Casemiro in the midfield, and why he's picking Luke Shaw. And dependent on those answers, I would then give my opinion, and dependent on those answers, I would make my decision whether I'm keeping him. I would like his answers to be answers I like, and then I would be like, right, let's get you some midfielders, let's keep building together. But if I didn't like those answers, I would get rid of him. And I don't know those answers. I'm still backing Amorim. I want him to do well. But some of his team selections irritate me. And I'd love to know why he does it, but I don't. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching tonight. Fantastic show. We are back at 10 o'clock tomorrow with the morning show and the latest news. I'm expecting a couple of stories to drop tomorrow, so we'll have certainly the menu one I'm expecting. So we'll see whether that comes out, as I mentioned this morning. And hopefully tomorrow, but you never know, tomorrow night, I want to really delve into Bruno. Big show. Bruno, captaincy, midfield, how long do we want to keep him? Some people want him here for the next 3 years. Some people don't want him here for the next 3 weeks. I want to delve into it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, tomorrow night. Hopefully it will be tomorrow night. You never know if something else breaks. We might have to talk about that. But we'll definitely do it over the international break. Looking forward to that. FC 26 is back tomorrow at about 4 o'clock. Yeah, looking forward to that as well. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. And I'll speak to you all in a bit.